A scandal rocks New York as news has come out that there has been a Chinese agent influencing New York's politics for a decade. Former aide to New York Governor Kathy Hochul, Linda Sun, has been arrested and charged with acting as a Chinese agent during her time in government. Goal of the agent was to push CCP agendas to block relations between the US and Taiwan. An unsealed copy of the indictment revealed she was charged with violating and conspiring to violate the Foreign Agents Registrations Act, visa fraud, alien smuggling, and money laundering conspiracy. Sun's husband, Chris Ho, was also arrested on money laundering conspiracy, conspiracy to commit bank fraud, and misusing means of identification.
Well, a former aide to Governor Hochul and Andrew Cuomo has been arrested and now faces federal charges of acting as an agent for the Chinese government.
All right, Linda's son and her husband were taken into custody at their Long Island home this morning, and both went before a judge this afternoon.
As you can imagine, a video revealing hidden agendas by China is not good for the CCP. In response to this, bots work hard to drown out our videos, making it harder for you guys to find them. If you give this video a like, you can help our content push back up and we can keep bringing you guys news like this. Let's get into the video. Prosecutors on the case allege that Sun used her role in government to push Chinese agenda by blocking meetings with Taiwanese officials during her time under Governor Andrew Cuomo. Using her influence in speechwriting, she is also accused of steering messaging away from criticism of Beijing's persecution of Uyghur Muslims. Although the 65-page indictment against the couple is looking scary, the two pleaded not guilty, with their attorney describing the charges as perplexing. Bonds have been set at $1.5 million for Sun, and Hu's was set at $500,000, with instructions for the two not to travel beyond New York City, Long Island, Maine, and New Hampshire. In response to the allegations, attorneys for Sun, Jared Schaefer and Ken Abel, released a statement. "We are disappointed by the filing of these charges, which are inflammatory and appear to be the product of an overly aggressive prosecution. We are also troubled by aspects of the government's investigation. As we said today in court, our client is eager to exercise her right to a speedy trial and to defend against these accusations in the proper forum, a court of law." Okay, so first we're going to take a deeper look at the case against Linda Sun as we explore the accusations that Sun's attorneys have called perplexing. Sun is accused of violating the Foreign Agents Registration Act by failing to register as a foreign agent with the Attorney General. One of Sun's biggest missions was to block relations between New York and Taiwan. Sun would do this by blocking Taiwanese representatives from having meetings with the governor while shaping the governor's narrative on China. An example of such an incident is in 2019, when she was informed during a banquet invitation that the Taiwanese president was supposed to visit New York City. She quickly alerted one of Beijing's officials, saying, "I sent you an email, just an FYI, I already blocked it." In a bid to control and push the Chinese agenda, Sun allegedly obtained unauthorized official New York State proclamations for Chinese government representatives and arranged meetings between CCP government delegations and New York officials. In addition to all this, prosecutors also said that Sun and Hu operated more than 80 different messaging accounts, including a WeChat message in which Sun is quoted telling a Chinese official, "I've done many things to make the relationship flourish." On top of all of her political antics, Sun and her husband Hu are also facing money laundering charges. Prosecutors allege that proceeds from their scheme were used to purchase a $4.1 million property in Manhasset, New York, a $2.1 million condominium in Honolulu, and a 2024 Ferrari. Her husband has also supposedly laundered funds through bank accounts in a relative's name while illegally using a relative's driver's license image. Next on the list are charges of visa fraud and alien smuggling, with claims that she provided fake invitation letters from New York State officers' offices to allow Chinese government officials to enter the United States. These letters work as immigration documents and assisted foreign citizens in entering the country unlawfully. As if all of this was not enough, the indictment also contains incriminating evidence of Sun's alleged communications with Chinese officials. In one incident, she secretly included a Chinese official in a New York State government conference call about the COVID-19 response and efforts to combat hate crimes against Asian Americans. With a rap sheet that long, let's take a look at what Sun was getting for all of her hard work. Before we jump into that, I'm sure you guys can tell today's geopolitical world moves very fast, and it's pretty much impossible to keep up with all the news. That's why we launched Global Recaps, a geopolitical newsletter that covers world news in a quick and simple way. Every day, we send out an email directly to your inbox that covers the most important world news that you can read in less than 5 minutes. Best of all, it's completely free, and you can sign up now by using the link in the description or scanning the QR code on screen. Let's get back to all that Sun was getting for her hard work for the CCP. She was not doing all these things for free, and the indictment has evidence that she received financial and economic benefits from China. Sun allegedly received travel benefits, promotion for her friends' businesses, and employment for her cousin in China. To sweeten the deal a little more, she received exclusive tickets to popular events, including a performance of the Guangzhou Ballet at Lincoln Center and the Chinese National Traditional Orchestra at Carnegie Hall. The deals also benefited her husband Hu, who received millions of dollars to facilitate his business in China. On top of all of these favors, Sun also received Nanjing-style salted ducks prepared by a high-ranking Chinese government official's personal chef who delivered them to her parents' home. This may seem unimportant and strange to note if you do not have the Chinese context. The popular dish is a traditional meal from the region of Nanjing with a unique flavor and a special preservation method. It is a delicacy, and its recipe dates back to the 14th century. Besides how expensive it must have been to make, receiving this as a part of the favors shows how closely tied Sun was with the Chinese government official. Evidence shows that the first delivery of 6 ducks was made on or about July 28, 2021, and 6 more were delivered on November 23, 2021. All in all, Sun and her husband became rich from the work they did on behalf of the Chinese government. United States Attorney Breon Peace stated that the illicit scheme enriched the defendant's family to the tune of millions of dollars. Now, some of you probably want to know more about who this troublemaker is, so we're going to get into Sun's background and her journey to New York politics. Linda Sun was born in 1983, and her family moved from China to the United States when she was 5. She later became a naturalized U.S. citizen and received an undergraduate degree in political science from Barnard College. After graduating with her master's degree in education from Columbia University, Sun worked in the New York State's legislative branch, holding a variety of positions, including chief of staff. In these early roles, Sun focused on providing essential services to immigrant constituents. Right from the onset, it was clear that she had a heart for people like herself who were not indigenously from America. Linda Sun's 13-year work tenure in New York began with her serving under Governor Andrew Cuomo in 2012. She began as a Director of Asian American Affairs and Queens Representative and held other positions throughout the decade. Among her roles were big positions, such as serving as a Director of External Affairs for Empire State Development and Chief Diversity Officer. Her final role before her downfall was her position as Deputy Chief of Staff under Governor Kathy Hochul in October 2021. Throughout her moves from different departments and administrations, what remained consistent about Sun's career was her interest in Asian American affairs. During COVID, Sun facilitated testing and vaccine delivery to Asian Americans. And during her time working with Governor Hochul, Sun pushed for a $10 million investment in mental health services and educational training aimed at reducing hate against Asian Americans. On the surface, it seemed like Sun was just a Chinese American advocating for her people. Her run was impressive, and at some point, she was the first Asian American to have such a high position in the New York government. Over time, the cracks began to show, and her facade began to fall off slowly. Now, we're going to go through key moments in her career, highlighting where she began to lose the plot. The first incident was in 2016, when Sun messaged a Chinese official to inform them the Taipei Economic and Cultural Representative Office had invited Governor Hochul to appear at an investment summit in Washington. The message read, "They sent the invitation to another colleague trying to bypass me. I'm working on it right now to resolve the issue. It's all been taken care of satisfactorily." This message shows that early on, colleagues in her department were beginning to suspect her. In 2018, letters that Sun was not authorized to sign were found to have forged versions of Hochul's signature. These letters allowed a Chinese delegation from Henan province to come to the U.S. to discuss economic cooperation with Hochul. Things got worse in 2019 when very incriminating messages were found between Sun and a Chinese official. Sun wrote, "I very much value my relationship with the consulate and have done many things to make the relationship between the state and the consulate flourish during my tenure with Politician 1. Certainly, I've managed to stop all relationships between the TACO and the state. I have denied all requests from their office." The Chinese official responded by thanking Sun for her help and referred to her as the most important hub connecting us with Politician 1 and his team. Around 2021, Sun and Hu started getting sloppy, and their spending started raising alarm bells. They began to purchase real estate valued at millions of dollars in Manhasset and New York. What was more suspicious was that the couple did not take out a loan or mortgage for these hefty purchases. From the outside, it was clear that the couple's spending did not match their salaries, and shortly before they started splurging, Hu received a $2.1 million wire transfer from a PRC-based account in his business partner's name. What caught the couple out is that Sun put their real estate purchases on her financial disclosure statements. Up until this point, her actions had just made the authorities suspicious, but what she did in 2023 is what launched an investigation. Sun emailed an unauthorized proclamation from the New York governor's office that was supposed to be presented at a Lunar New Year celebration. The indictment states that Sun obtained this proclamation from an Office of Correspondence employee outside ordinary channels and did not follow protocol by seeking supervisory authorization to create such a proclamation. When she was questioned by her actions by the Inspector General's office, Sun initially played the denying game. After she realized she was in hot soup, she admitted requesting the Lunar New Year proclamation for a Chinese government official. Up until this point, she had been getting away with murder, but Sun was finally fired in March 2023. In a statement to ABC News, Avi Small, Hochul's press secretary, stated, "We terminated her employment in March 2023 after discovering evidence of misconduct, immediately reported her actions to law enforcement, and have assisted law enforcement throughout this process." Even after her post was terminated, Sun still tried to manipulate her position. In August 2023, the Department of Labor had to send her a cease and desist letter for attending public and professional events, claiming she was an agency official. After this, the investigation intensified. And in June 2024, federal investigators raided a home belonging to Sun and her husband. In response to the madness, both of Sun's previous bosses, Hochul and Cuomo, have had something to say. Governor Kathy Hochul called Sun's actions a betrayal of trust and claimed that she was absolutely shocked by everything.
The indictment lays out very clearly evidence that these actions taken by Linda's son were an absolute betrayal of the trust of two administrations in state government.
While former Governor Cuomo did not directly comment, Rich as a party, a spokesperson for Cuomo, stated that while Ms. Sun was promoted to Deputy Chief of Staff in the subsequent administration, during our time she worked in a handful of agencies and was one of many community liaisons who had little to no interaction with the governor. Finally, we need to think about what this entire thing means for relations between China and the US. This news coming out so close to the US elections has caused many concerns regarding how far China influences the American electoral process. The case allows us to see that the dragon in the east has a big part to play in US politics, and its methods are not always direct and aggressive. Knowing China has many tricks up its sleeve is disturbing, but knowing that these schemes are specifically trying to infiltrate US intelligence is scarier. The Center for Strategic and International Studies, CSIS, has documented 224 instances of Chinese espionage directed at the US from 2000 to March 2023. Let us go back to 2018 when it was discovered that China's hand was in the CIA. Jerry Chun-Shing Lee, a former CIA officer, was caught retaining classified information that led to the dismantling of the CIA's network of informants in China. His work as a spy began in 2010 when Chinese intelligence agents contacted him, offering him money in exchange for secret information. He was sentenced to 19 years in prison, but the damage had already been done. China's undercover work does not end there, and reports of Chinese nationals opening secret overseas police stations have emerged. In 2023, 2 men were arrested for acting under the direction and control of the Chinese government by setting up an international police station. Harry Liu Jianwang and Chen Jingping set up a front office that performed services such as helping Chinese citizens renew their Chinese driver's license. Under the radar, the Manhattan Chinatown station was used to intimidate and harass fugitives and those critical of the Chinese government. What is even more worrying is the fact that offices like this have sprouted up all over North America and Europe, with reports that CCP uses the offices to monitor critics of the PRC. As expected, China is denying everything. It maintains that these international police stations are there to provide Chinese citizens with services. Cases like Linda Sun's, Jerry Chun-Shing Lee's, and Harry Liu Jianwang's are proof of the existence of a larger Chinese spy network that is running in countries all around the world. Very recently, a Chinese spy by the name of Alice Guo has finally been arrested in Indonesia. She was on the run for weeks after being accused of spying for China during her term as a Filipino mayor. Reports like these should wake the world up and get every country looking into whether there is Chinese espionage happening in their backyard. A reality that China has to accept is that diplomatic tension that comes as a result of Sun's actions is going to undo some of the work that has been going into building trust with the US. All Chinese officials are going to be treated with some disdain, and diplomatic protocols are probably going to be redone. And there's definitely going to be stricter enforcement of foreign agent registration laws. Moving forward, what is diplomacy going to look like in America? While countries want to work well together, incidents like this give open diplomatic channels a bad name. All that we can hope is that America has learned a valuable lesson from this scandal. Tighter security measures will definitely be implemented, and the vetting process will be more thorough. As we speak, Washington is unraveling all that it knows and trying to untangle China's web of deception.